What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast that is a proud partner of the Eurostep Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. As always, I am your host, Numac, and joining me, putting his pencil on his upper lip, making it look like a big mustachioed man, is my lovely co-host, Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Putting a pencil on my upper lip.
You
Like
also
I'm
you also already have a mustache. You can't you can't mock me like that. You can't grow one and then fake like you have one.
so I'm this is a perfect segue to something I said to my wife
This is a segue.
most yes.
Okay, I'll believe you.
So it was inspired by seeing someone wear a clear toupee.
Okay.
And you know, as a society I feel like we accept that people will wear hair pieces
Okay.
even when it's obvious to the naked eye that hey, you got gray sideburns and your hair is like
Black.
or brown,
Yeah.
like deep brown.
Yeah.
So my thinking was, what if I just started wearing like a fake mustache? But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the problem, Jordan, with this is that you already wore a fake mustache for pictures in your wedding.
That is
You've
true.
already
But
done
what
this.
I'm saying,
You've already seen this bit out to fruition
yeah, but I want to do it more. See, my
regularly.
mustache now, like, it's accentuated by the light here.
Sure.
But it's not a very like pronounced mustache. It's not like a John Oates mustache, if you will. I
Sure.
needed a little help to achieve that.
Yeah.
So what
No.
I'm saying is
Yeah.
I just want it to be just friendly or accepted by society that hey, if I want to wear a fake mustache for an entire day, no one's gonna look at me like I'm an idiot.
So what you're saying is you want the mustache you wore at your wedding to be your permanent mustache because
Kinda, yeah.
that was a John Oates mustache.
Yeah. I would get hair plugs but for a mustache.
That's disrespectful to me as someone who can't grow facial hair. Oh man! All right, let's get into some football talk. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Uh, Packers coming off of a pretty nice win over the Seattle Seahawks this past Sunday night, and with that, got to hand out some cheeses. So the Packers walloped the Seahawks 30-13 in a game that never really felt that close, and as such, we have a lot of a lot of cheese candidates, I should say. So, starting off first and foremost, the entire Packers O line is a candidate. We've decided this week we're going to do that for the sole purpose of they played their asses off, and we can't give all three cheeses just to three of the five linemen. And so in this scenario, um, all the linemen would just get one. Uh, Packers produced 369 yards of offense, including 140 rushing yards, a lot of that in the first half. PFF grades a 63.5 for Ryan, a 69.5 for Rasheed Walker, a 71.6 for Elton Jenkins, a 76.1 for Josh Myers, and an 83.1 for Zach Tom. No sacks for Jordan Love either. All around, just a great game for the O line. Next up is rookie Edgerrin Cooper. He had 7 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, 2 QB hits, 2 pass breakups, and an interception on 34 snaps, and was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week and a 93.8 PFF grade. Next up was Carrington Valentine, 3 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and a pick, 3 catches on 4 targets for 32 yards. Then Kingsley Enigbare, 5 tackles, all of which were solo, three of which were for a loss, 2 sacks and 2 QB hits, as Jordan mentioned on the pod Sunday night. Both of those sacks and the tackle for a loss came on one drive. Um, Josh Jacobs, 26 carries, 94 rushing yards, a TD, 1 fumble, 4 catches for 42 rushing yards. Jordan Love, 20 of 27, 229 passing yards, 2 TDs, and then a 66.9 PFF grade. Romeo Dobbs, 3 catches on 5 targets, 40 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, Jordan, I think I have, I think I have Oh man, I
I
have,
think I have four.
yeah, that was where I was going with this. I have four locks.
I think this is a four lock.
My four
Um,
are the line, Edgerrin Cooper, Carrington Valentine, and Kingsley Anibare.
See, I want to go. I want to be a contrarian,
Yeah,
but that is kind of where I fall. Like Josh Jacobs, I think would have been a shoe-in had he not had the fumble.
agreed.
Jordan Love, really good game. Like
Yep.
you can't complain about what he had,
Nope.
but there's it's like again the standard's so high that even in a game that I would probably give him like an A minus,
Yeah.
you selfishly want more. I don't
Yeah.
know why.
I mean, I don't know when the last time he threw for 300 yards was. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna look
It
that
was
up now.
actually this year.
I know, but like, when is my point?
The Vikings game,
That was actually gonna be my guess. Yeah,
and we could all agree that that was too much Jordan Love that game.
yeah, but like, it's not that he threw for 300 yards. It's that he threw for almost 400 and then
Yeah,
three picks.
yeah. Dolphins game, he got close to 300. Detroit game, the first one, he got close to 300.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
I don't know. Like I think he played well. Um, I just think we've seen better
Yeah,
Jordan
he
Love
played very
games.
well.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like more. I won't say dominant, but just like games where he looked better. So, but I not that he looked bad this game, but just it was a very average game for Jordan Love, which says a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Giannis thing for
Also,
stocks. Like you can't give him one for every game he has.
part of it too is like not just Jordan Love, but Romeo Doubs is really good. I just thought like both of his touchdowns like showcased something different. It wasn't just the fact that
Yeah.
he scored, it was his hands on the second one. It was the strength on the first one, like pushing through.
What is your opinion on switching out Kingsley for Romeo? Because I feel like you do have to give one to an offensive player, like a specialist.
But we're technically doing that with the offensive line.
True. I think I that's probably fair. It feels weird not to give a cheese to a guy who scored two touchdowns though.
Stay with Jordan Love.
I mean that's different though.
I know, but I don't know. That's where it gets tough. And but I don't want to shortchange Barty because
No,
again,
I agree.
even on what 22 plays,
Yeah.
yeah, 22 snaps, two sacks, three. Like he was very disruptive. He's
Also
had
Sam
other.
Howell.
Yeah, but the way that the second sack, he was like chasing him down.
Yeah.
Sam Howell was,
He's
doing
scrambling.
his.
Yeah. God. That face is gonna be a classic one.
Sam Howell with
Don't
the
put the
pencil
mustache on
mustache.
Sam Howell and do the God damn it. Oh man.
Um, how
I know. Like I'm fine with the four we named initially. Just because like
about this? How about this? How about this?
okay.
I don't know if I want to do this though. I was gonna say, do we swap out Carrington Valentine? But this is his best game of the year by far. Like
Yeah.
it's cheeseworthy.
Yeah.
God darn it! I don't want to do five. I don't want to do five. I don't.
Is it one of those weeks though?
I don't think it is because this is not a game that if it was like a true ass kicker,
If Romeo Dobbs
like
gets the
Walker
50
Texas Ranger
if Romeo
style,
Dobbs gets the 50 yards, do you think it is?
if he what?
Gets the 50 yards rather than 40? Like what is the threshold you think for Romeo Dobbs to get a cheese here?
I don't know. I think I'm trying to keep in mind of how we talked about the game, be a little bit removed, knowing that it's an ample, selection here.
Mhm.
So therefore, your standards get a little higher about who gets that cheese. And I can't be handing out five. Can't be handing out five. Four is good. Four is
There's
the
a
limit.
demand for cheese though,
We
Jordan.
hand out as many cheeses as we have fingers.
I
Four
have 8.
on one hand.
I can make an AI picture of myself and add an extra finger in there.
Don't tell Rob Gronkowski.
Shut up.
Sorry. Um,
Yeah, I'm fine with the 4 that we had then, and no Romeo. Because I listen, you're the I said I'm fine with it. You're the one now
I know, but I just don't want. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose.
because there's no one on this list.
He walked out of the locker room once before. I don't want to do it again.
I know, but there's no one on this list of 4 that isn't deserving. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. I
Like
agree.
it's either 4 and no Romeo or 5. You have to make a decision.
O line and the three defenders.
Okay. O-line, Edrin Cooper, Carrington Valentine, Kingsley Anabari. Congratulations. You all get a cheese this week. We will get.
Let me write down each offensive lineman individually.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. So, alrighty. That is it for last week's game against the Seahawks. Let's get into some news and notes this week. First and foremost, coming out of that Seahawks game, Quay Walker goes down with an ankle injury. Um, This is from Matt Schneeben. This was today after practice. Quay Walker had a boot on his left foot in the locker room today after injuring his ankle in Seattle, by the way. Matt LaFleur said earlier this week he was more week to week than day to day. So hopefully, like honestly, it'd be really nice if the Packers would just win on Monday because Packers, if they win, they're in to the playoffs no matter what. And so if they would if they win on Sunday without Quay, that'd be a chance for Quay to have rested for 3 weeks going into the playoffs against the Saints, then the Vikings and the Bears. Get ready for whatever playoff game they would play on the road, which honestly might be the best course of action for them because unless they win on Monday and then lose out, and the Commanders I think win out, the Packers are pretty much locked into like 5 or 6, and
Yeah.
so I don't see a reality in which they drop to 7 realistically. So that's probably the best course of action is just keep Quay out, let him rest for a month, and then get ready for the inevitable uh, playoff matchup against probably Philly or not Philly, whoever
It is
the 3 seed is.
currently Tampa
Yeah,
Bay.
Tampa Bay. So, but yeah, going into this matchup with the Saints on Monday, the Packers are 18-10 against the Saints. You want to know something interesting? I haven't started to interrupt this. Do we have a losing record against a team?
Yes. Yes. Let me. I have that window open right now. So give me 1 second.
I feel like it might be a Florida team,
Uh,
but I don't think there's too many of them.
let me.
Because like every time I read the stat each week, I go, wow, like maybe the Dolphins don't face them that often. And
I Dolphins are the first one that came to mind. Losing record, you said?
yeah,
Losing record. The Colts.
interesting.
The Colts, the most games that the Packers have played and they have a losing record. They are 21 and 23. Sorry, let me re-say this again. 21, 23, and 1 against the Colts.
That's crazy that the worst percentage that they have against a team, or I'm sorry, is that not the worst percentage? That's just the most games they've played against a team with a losing winning percentage. What? Who are the next ones?
The Titans, they're 7 and 8. The Dolphins,
Really?
were correct. They're 7 and 10 against
Okay.
the Chiefs. They're 5, 8, and 1.
Okay.
The Bills, they're 5 and 9. The Jets, they're 5 and 9.
That's crazy that the most like the lowest they are against a team is -4.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
6 and 6 against the Patriots, 7 and 7 against the Bengals, 7 and 7 and 1 against the Broncos.
Gotcha.
And then everything else they are
All right, positive.
above 500.
Wow. So,
They were
um,
1 and 2 against the Boston Bulldogs.
interesting. Okay. 18-10. in the regular season. They haven't actually faced the Saints in the postseason, so that's an interesting tidbit. Green Bay is 11-3 against the Saints when they face them at home. Matt LaFleur is 2-1 against the Saints. The lone loss occurring in Jacksonville, Week 1 of the 2021 season when they got walloped 38-3. Packers win against the Saints in a comeback win in Week 2 last year, and Jordan Love's first win as a start. Yeah, first one as a starter.
Mm-mm.
Wasn't that Week 2? They didn't win Week 1, did they?
Yeah, they did. That was the Bears game.
Oh, it was the Bears game. Yep.
Bears game they won, then they lost that nail biter against the Falcons, and then they came
Then they
back to
came
beat the
back.
Saints
Yeah,
at home.
that was the home opener. Was Week 3. That's first win at home as a starter. My apologies. Um, so yeah, obviously not a lot of history, but enough recent history between these two teams. Um, the Saints.
Also, most games against an opponent without having a playoff game,
Oh,
which I
interesting,
thought was interesting.
interesting. The Saints are currently 5-9 and are third in the NFC South. They haven't been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, but they only have a 1% chance to do so. So, insert you're saying there's a chance, GIF.
Yeah,
They started the season 2-0 and extremely hot. They I think scored like almost 100 points in their first two games. They beat Dallas. I'm sorry, they beat the Panthers week 1 47-10, and they followed that up by beating Dallas at home 44, or I'm sorry, Dallas on the road 44-19.
wow.
Since then, they have not scored 30. They've only scored 30 points one time, and that was against the Browns, which is absolutely crazy. So they go 2-0 to start the year, follow that up with a, I believe, 7-game losing streak. Yeah. And then, which during that streak, head coach Dennis Allen is ultimately fired. And under Darren Rizzi, who I believe was their special teams coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, and former Packers assistant, the Saints are 3-2 and have wins over the Falcons, Browns, and Giants, currently hanging on to a top 10 pick in the draft. So this team definitely floundering, um, and isn't helped by the fact that the injury report doesn't favor them either. Derek Carr is out, I believe, for this, not for the season, but I don't think there's a chance he plays the rest of the
It's like that
season.
weird. He was kind of in this week to week scenario with his shoulder injury too, right?
It's a hand injury, but yeah,
Hand injury.
yep.
So
He's in a weird
yeah,
spot where he uh he could play if need be. It's his left hand, but they're not playing him out of abundance of caution because I believe when um whoever their starter is going to be, um
Spencer Rattler,
yep, but last week it was the fella whose name I am forgetting.
Jake Havener,
Yeah, Jake Hayner. It was last
Hayner.
week, but Spencer Rattler I believe was out last week, and so they said like if Jake Hayner suffers an injury during the game, Derek Carr will be able to play, but they're just not playing him. So Spencer Rattler expected to start this week, but a big week for their injury report. It's not great. Um, like I said, Derek Carr was a DMP on Thursday. There's only one day of injury report coming into Thursday because they play on Monday. Juwan Johnson, their tight end, the same Juwan Johnson that led up the Packers in that 38-3 loss, has a foot injury. He was limited in practice. Alvin Kamara has a groin injury. He is not expected to play on Monday. He was a DMP. Um, is this that man's name Bub Means? Is that what I'm reading?
Bub
Is
means
that what I'm?
it is Bub means.
Okay. That is like I said, uh not what I anticipated. Wide receiver ankle. He was a DMP. Cooley McKinstry, the rookie quarterback out of Alabama, was limited with a shoulder injury. Star receiver Chris Olave has a head injury. He was limited in practice. Former Packer Marquez Valdez-Scantling has a chest injury. He was a DMP. And defensive end Chase Young, former Commander and former Niner, I believe, was sick on Thursday, and he was a DMP. For the Packers, Jair Alexander was a full participant. with his knee injury. Corey Ballantyne was a limited participant with his knee injury. Javon Bullard was a DMP, and so was Quay Walker, both nursing ankle injuries. Luke Musgrave, coming back from IR, was limited in practice on Thursday. And that's it for the Packers injury report. So I believe everyone practiced as normal besides Javon and Quay. So that's good to hear for the Packers for sure. So, heading into this game, how big is this game? Like we said earlier, Packers clinch a playoff spot with this win against New Orleans. If they don't win, they'll need a combination of the Falcons and Rams to lose, or tie, um, or the Falcons and the Seahawks to lose. So we are anti Dirty Bird fans this week, hoping for the worst rookie start of the year for Michael Penix Jr. down in Atlanta since they benched Kirk Cousins. Uh, that pick doesn't look so bad now at 9, knowing how that season has went
No,
for them. Got here a lot faster than they anticipated, but golly, it's not great for them.
no,
Yet
no, it
and
is not.
yet they're still in shape to possibly win the division, which is crazy.
Yeah, that the NFC South should be abolished. It's terrible.
Yeah,
It's
it's
terrible.
not good. It's not good. That's
They play the Giants this week.
who do? Oh, the Falcons do.
The
Yeah,
Falcons. Buccaneers play the Cowboys. Like,
yeah.
come on,
I mean,
come on.
I know.
Mm.
Yeah, the Falcons are 7-7, and the Bucks are 8-6. So there's a world I would be shocked if the Falcons won that division, but anything is popsicle. So um, with that, I forgot my train of thought is all off kilter. With that, Packers obviously would like to lock up their playoff berths
Also,
this week. Go ahead.
this can be. It could be locked up by the time they even play Monday.
True. Yeah. Which I
So
don't think really matters to them in the first place. Like they'll
no,
play all their regular players regardless, obviously, because NFL isn't anything league, anything can happen. And so if you can get up to 5, that'd be awesome. Like we've seen before that 2 seeds aren't always promised their game, right? Packers won last year against the Cowboys, who were the 2 seed, and so maybe there's a chance that Packers are a 5 seed and can maybe host the NFC Championship game. That'd be pretty cool. But um, I mean, thinking about it, we're probably getting way into deep to it right now. But let's pull up those standings quickly. I think the Lions are still one. Getting into here. Lions are still one at 12-2. Eagles are 12-2 as the 2 seed. Excuse me, as the 2 seed. The Lions currently hold the tiebreaker over Philly based on best win percentage in conference games. Um, Tampa is the 3 seed. The Rams are the 4 seed. Vikings are the 5 seed. Packers are the 6 seed. Commanders are the 7th seed. So shuffling this around here, knowing that Packers are likely going to the NFC South winner, or NFC West or NFC South winner.
yeah,
If you can be the 5 seed, the Commanders and the Vikings currently are better than both the 3 and the 4 seed, right?
yep.
And so, in a case where they beat, I don't think the Commanders can beat Philly, but that's a divisional game. They'll play them hard regardless. And so, but whoever ends up the 1 seed, if it's the Lions or 2, I mean, the Commanders have a good offense. And, well, they had a good offense to start. They've kind of fallen off a little bit. But Jane Daniels is good. And there's always a chance, right? And especially with how Detroit's defense is just decimated right now with 2 more season-ending injuries on defense, and then hoping Dave Montgomery comes back for the playoffs. They said today that he got a second opinion that he could be back. Um, but I mean, it's a wild NFC division this year, and there's a lot of volatility in the top of it and how it could shake out. Like if the Lions lose out, they could end up being the 5 seed, which would be a huge. They're not going to lose out, but the critical game with the Vikings will be how that shakes out, right? And
Yeah.
so if the Vikings are all of a sudden the 2 seed going against the Commanders, that could be a toss up, right? Like that's a that's a pretty interesting matchup. Eagles are all of a sudden the 1 seed. They would face the winner of that game. And it just there's an interesting path. And so there's a chance that the Packers are the 5 seed that they could, and all for all intents and purposes, host the championship game. But that's wishful thinking. So um, after we get too ahead of ourselves there, let's talk about this Saints game because what we're doing now, Jordan, is what we don't want the Packers to do, and is overlook the opponent in front of them coming this week. Um, the Saints, like I said, they're beat up and whatnot, but they're an NFL football team. Spencer Rattler has started before. He's has snaps under his belt, and
He has started is correct. It is very correct.
it's not a lot, but he has.
He's well, do you want to let's run through it, shall
Go
we? He
for it.
is 0-3 when he's played this year. He has a 57.5 completion percentage. He has thrown for 706 yards over 4 games, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and has been sacked 14 times. That is bad.
Yeah. Well, the sack part isn't so much his fault. They lost Ryan Ramczyk to begin the year,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's obviously a big loss for them.
Games in which Spencer Rattler has played, the Saints lost to the Commanders 20-19. They lost to the Chargers 26-8. They lost to the Broncos 33-10. They lost to the Buccaneers 51-27.
Not great.
Yeah.
That is not great. But I mean, I just don't like. I don't want to say they stink because that's just I don't want to get bit in the butt that way. But yeah, this team isn't that good. If Chris Olave plays, he's really good. Like he's definitely a plus receiver in the NFL. The problem is that they don't really have too much outside of him. Should they should Alvin Kamara not play? Should MVS not play? Like right now, they're starting. Uh, okay, ESPN says Chris Olave is on IR. Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, because he had
This
he
is
had that back concussion.
this is decimated. This is a decimated team.
Yeah,
Alvin Kamara was their leading. No, I'm correct. Incorrect. But um, yeah, without Alvin Kamara, then you're looking at a supporting cast of Kendre Miller, who Dennis Allen, before he got fired, was
hated
actively
him.
trying to
Hated him.
hated him, actively trying to like alienate him from the team. MVS was a midseason pickup. Foster Moreau was, kind of a mid-tier tight end, last couple of years for the Saints. Juwan Johnson, Dante Pettis, who's bounced around from team to team after getting cut by the 49ers. Cedric Wilson Jr., I believe a former Cowboy, kind of like the
Former
slot
Cowboy
wide
and I
receiver.
believe former Dolphin.
Yes. Yeah, not great.
No, there's not a whole
Not
lot
great.
here, and so they're starting rookie tackle Talise Fuaga that they picked in the first round. I believe that was their first round pick. I think they had two. Because Clay McKinstry went, I think, in the second then. But yeah, like there's not a whole lot there on offense outside of Kamara. And now that I see the IR designation for all of it, I do remember that he had that really bad concussion. He's been out for a while, but the injury report doesn't say he's coming back from IR, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see how that shakes out. And then, I mean, to say that Spencer Rattler has potential, I guess, is stretching it. But he is a starting quarterback, and he's a rookie, so you're gonna have all the woes of a rookie quarterback thrust into a starting job midway through the season. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good opportunity for the Packers just to take care of business and secure their playoff spot and be done with it. Because, like I said, we don't want this to be a trap game. And I think what I would really like to see is just the Packers defense tee off on all of it, like on this entire offense, because we saw it last week against lesser quarterbacks in Sam Howell and a better quarterback in Geno Smith, and they were having success against both guys, right? They tackled or
Yeah.
they sacked Geno Smith a couple times. They got him for a pick, and you're going against Bentley Rattler, who's playing on the road on him in prime time. Like that's going to be lofty expectations for him. Like let the D line kind of get after them there because the the offense has let up a lot of sacks. Like you said, 14 times um just for Spencer Rattler is a lot.
A lot. Should note, last week he was not sacked at all by the Commanders, which is kind of surprising, but only was 10 of 21.
hmm
Like, again, we're not trying to overlook the Saints, and the more that the Packers, let their foot off the gas, the more dangerous the game becomes. But
Exactly.
this is still a young quarterback thrown into a situation where he's making starts during a lost season, and you look at the supporting cast around him, not just the weapons that he has, but the offensive line, as you mentioned, like severe um, losses on that front.
Right.
It's just like, what more can he do? And versus a defense that over the last few weeks has really found themselves and has found how to tee off against lesser, we saw what they did to Sam Howell. Spencer Rattler is on the same footing,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So this is where like a game where Jeff Halfley could be, you know, kind of, you don't want to see him play with his food kind of thing. Just get down to business and eat that steak.
Sure.
Gumbo, gumbo,
Sure. Yeah,
New
that'd be
Orleans.
better.
Jambalaya. Make jambalaya of this Saints
There you
team.
go.
Jeff Halfley. That's the Jordan Tresky word of advice.
Gotcha. Uh Worth noting that six of Spencer Rattler's sacks came against the Broncos, who are very good. So, uh, a bit of context there. But other than that, they weirdly the Saints line hasn't given up a whole lot of sacks this year, just 28. Um, a sack percentage of 5.9%. Or no, I'm sorry. Uh,
So,
5.9, which is honestly middle of the pack.
so
Like
you're
it's
saying they've only given up 28 sacks this season, and
yes.
Spencer Rattler is responsible for half of those
Yeah.
in 4 games.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's terrible. The line itself though is
Yeah.
is better. And I think part of that too, Jordan, is like he his first 3 games he started a Sunday against the Buccaneers, a the following Thursday against the Broncos, and then the following Sunday he played a decent chunk and he had 24 throws. Was his 3 games in a row he started, and he had 5, 6, and 3 sacks. And then you mentioned last week that he doesn't get sacked last week in what I believe was a full game, or no, probably
Coming into relief.
not coming into relief after Jake Hayner got hurt, I believe, because I don't think that was the Derek Carr back game. If I'm not mistaken. But regardless, like 21 attempts and not sacked last week, that's pretty good. Like just progress, right? And he's again he's a rookie, so but let Rashawn Gary and let Kingsley Barre and let Lucas Van Ness sort of tee off on these guys. I honestly I know we're like Quay being down limits what they might do out of like blitz packages, but I'd like to see them blitz more. Like let this like just put this game in the dirt for the defense from the start. I don't want to see them like you said play with their food and kind of get into a lull of just playing football. I want to see this team like hold them to like under 10 points because there isn't talent on this team outside of Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave, who probably aren't going to play. That's no disrespect to like Kendra Miller and Jamal Williams and whoever else, but there's the Packers' defensive players are way better than those guys. As much as I love Jamal Williams,
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just not. I'd be surprised if the Packers come into this game under, you know, kind of that thinking
yeah,
of playing around or taking someone less seriously. I don't think that's necessarily. It can be a football thing. I think it's a competition thing, obviously. Like you say that about like basketball when you're in the middle of an 82 game season, and
Right.
it's just like circumstances creep into performance. But yeah, like the Packers still have to treat every game like it's a playoff game because it affects your seeding, even though you're almost certainly going to go through a whatever playoff path that they find themselves down. It's always going to be on the road. Um, yeah, it's good to like send a good message. Like this is
Right.
the easiest. Uh,
No,
I would even say
this will be their easiest game the rest of the way.
I was gonna say yeah. I mean, you could say that about the Bears, but
I
they
still
still
think the
have
Bears have like, well, maybe not after Minnesota's game, but the Bears I think will always get up for a Packers game,
yeah,
and that's just the way it's going to be, kind of thing. Like that's a rivalry. That's a division game. Both teams are going to get up for it.
yeah.
Maybe the Packers, if the Packers have their spot locked in, maybe they don't. But I'd rather them play kind of thing for pride's sake. But I also want them to go far in the playoffs, not get hurt more. So maybe they don't.
Bear down,
They would be bear down.
bear down.
That's the
Anyway,
idea.
yeah, this is a good kind of send a message kind of game,
Yeah, I mean, like
even if
same thing.
it's
Honestly, like the same way we talked about like Matt LaFleur didn't see what he needed to from Jair last week. Does he need to play this week?
I that's an honest question. I mean, I think that already implies to Quay Walker, even though it's a little bit more serious of an injury. But
And more recent,
we are,
right?
yeah, more recent. We are at a point though with Jair's injury, kind of. I mean, a PCL injury during the. You're asking him to heal up during the middle of a season with an injury that, not a doctor, but strongly affects your lateral movement.
Yeah,
Why would you put him in a position to aggravate that again
against the team that
during a game that doesn't mean much?
right means much to the team to secure their playoff spot, but in a game where what his if the proposed lineup for the wide receivers is Cedric Wilson, Kevin Austin Jr., and Dante Pettis, like I don't think you need Jair for those guys. Like in a
No,
weird world where Chris Olave does end up playing, yeah, you'd like Jair for him, but I don't think it's entirely necessary that Jair plays this game. And I'd rather him just rest for another week, and then we would finally, for the first time I think in like 2 years, get the Justin Jefferson Jair Alexander matchup against Minnesota in 2 weeks.
did they not?
It was last year's home Vikings game.
He didn't play this year.
Nope. No, Justin Jefferson was no Jair was out for earlier this year, and honestly, I think it was 2 seasons ago. It's been a while
Let me look this up.
because they talked about it before this Vikings game
Yeah,
that like oh Jair is out, not again but out again versus the Vikings.
yeah, he did miss. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's been 2 years because it was when Justin Jefferson got held to like nothing. Oh, you know what? I think you know when it was. I think it was last year's Packers, like last year's home game, because the Vikings were doing okay last year, and the Packers needed to keep winning to get into the playoffs. They hold the Vikings, who were doing really well, to like really bad offensive day. Jair Alexander gritties on them and whatnot, but I don't think he played in Minnesota against Justin Jefferson, or Justin Jefferson was hurt. The other way around, like they've kind of been
Alexander was
like
suspended for that game last year
against for the one against Minnesota.
for the away game. Yeah,
Gotcha. So then, yeah, they kind of been like ships passing in the night kind of thing, and so it'd be
yeah.
nice if they actually got to play this year. And then I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was when players got mad at Joe Barry for not putting Jair on Justin Jefferson. It was Razul instead.
Yep.
Yes.
For
The,
the opener, season opener.
yeah. And so, yeah, it's always an interesting matchup with them. But regardless of it all, uh, yeah, don't know if Jair needs to play this game just because, like I said, it just like I don't really need him on Dante Pettis. I'm not afraid of
No.
him. Hard cut to Monday night when Dante Pettis has
What?
120 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, and you just think of the evolution of the Saints team. They traded away their best defensive player,
Yep.
Marshawn Lattimore, at um,
Beginning of the season, I
trade
believe.
trade deadline.
Was it the trade deadline or was
Um,
it before that? I think it was a
it
couple
was
weeks
a
before.
deadline.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, that's it's not. They're not in a position to succeed. I don't mean to be so harsh,
I
but
know, but they're just not good.
they're just in that seat. Yeah, and it honestly is really a culmination of just the overall decline of
Yeah.
the franchise. Because once Sean Payton left, once Brees retired, it's like
Well,
they've
this
been
is well,
spinning these wheels for 3 to 4 years at the very least.
right, and I think the biggest thing is that like they just haven't been able to draft well. Like
No.
they it's just been pretty bad for them draft wise, and the uh the cap stuff finally is just coming around to them. Like
Yep.
they were doing cap gymnastics for years, and it's finally just kind of what's shaken out for them. And like Alvin Kamara is always good, but he's getting up there in age for a running back, and he's hurt. So it's just tough when all the injuries pile up like that, especially for a young star like Chris Olave. So
Yep.
on the other side of the ball, like this is where I want to see the Packers just dominate on offense. Like ideally, Jordan, this game is done by halftime. It's 28-35-0 something. The Packers force a couple of turnovers on defense and just go down and start throwing haymakers to the Saints. Because the sooner you can put this game out of reach and just get the backups in, the better. And so let the offense go bonkers, run Josh Jacobs up the gut and just start going because this defense is not very good. Uh excuse me. They still have Cameron Jordan. They still have Demario Davis. But like I said, they still have Trauma Mathieu too. But statistically, this defense is out there a lot because their offense can't just be. They just can't operate as well. Um, the total yards, the Saints are third worst in the league. They have allowed 5,272 yards through 14
Woo!
games. Uh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Uh, they've allowed 14 touchdowns. They've forced 13 interceptions, which I guess is something to watch. But then they've also allowed the sixth worst number in the league, 1,881 yards on the ground throughout the season. So this game is, or this team on defense just isn't good. It's porous, and I think that's pretty evidenced by that 7 game losing streak. Like this, they just can't stop anybody. Uh, frankly, that's just how it is. Like I said, they only scored 35 points once, but looking at all their losses, 26 by the Falcons, 26 by the Chiefs, 51 by the Bucks, 33 by the Broncos, 26 by the Chargers, 23 to the Panthers, which is not ideal. Um, 21 to the Rams, and then 20 to the Commanders. Like they just, I mean, like some of their wins like aren't the greatest either. It's the Falcons, the Browns, and the Giants. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I would just like this like to see Jordan Love. Honestly, Jordan Love like go 303 touchdowns this week. That'd be pretty cool. Throw a couple bombs to Christian Watson. Get Jaden Reed mixed in. Like I think this could be a really good opportunity for like a rhythm game for these guys. All like, if I'm not mistaken, all the guys in offense are back. So let's use this game against a bad defense to get in rhythm for the playoff push. Like I think you can argue they did that last week a little bit against the Seahawks, but it kind of got stuck in them on the second half a little bit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed if the second half looked worse than the first half if they scored 35 in the first half. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like if they look really really good in the first half, I'm fine with them just kind of throwing it again in the second half.
Especially if that means that you know Malik Willis is in.
Malik Willis is
And
in or whatever else, and
yeah,
like,
we see
but even
more.
then, like if they're just like running the ball like Emmanuel Wilson and Josh Jacobs is on the bench and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
just either keeping it simple or we see deeper reserves come in and
Malik
take over
Heath,
for
uh,
starters.
yeah, Bo Melton, guys like that.
Yeah, it's you don't want to overlook the game in hand, and the Saints still, they're still playing for pride. Not everybody's gonna fold up shop and just be like, well, the season's lost. Like no not to go full Brian Callahan, but um those players in there are tough. I can't say the exact words that he was saying, but
Yeah.
uh it made me laugh. Anyway, people still have points of pride and they still compete
Oh,
even
for
when
sure.
things are not going well. So yeah, I would hate for this game to it could all it takes is one bad bounce and it turns into an interception or it's a fumble. Weather is I believe that the early forecast for this game is favorable
I'm looking at it
for
now. Uh, Low of 26, 50% chance of snow.
love it.
Yep.
Love it. Side note, going to this game. So if I'm in Lambeau and it's snowing and they're kicking ass, they're taking names. I'll be happier than a pig in manure.
Way to keep PG. Nice job.
You're welcome.
But yeah, no, like I think this game has the opportunity just to be just for the guys to coast, right? Like let's see them win this game handedly. Put in a great half of football. You can set the rest of the game because that's really all they need. This team they're going against doesn't have the facilities to make a big comeback like that, and so what I fear is that they come out and they look flat. If they come out and like go 3-and-out, that's very bad.
Yeah.
Like they can always bounce back and whatnot, but I don't want them to come out and look flat right away because I think that just gives more life to the Saints to believe that they can win this game, and that you just don't want that. You want to do exactly what you did against the Seahawks last week: take the ball, go down, shove it down their throat, 7-0, take it back, make them punt, shove it down their throat, 14-0 before the first quarter is even over.
Yeah, you don't want to make it harder than it has to be.
No,
That is ultimately the message that you want to send. And maintain that same mentality of what last week was of entering that game that was, a playoff preview at that time. Yeah, the Saints are on the same caliber, but you still don't want to lose focus at this time. This could be like honestly, this game could be a good confidence booster for someone like Downtavian Wicks, who has had an up and down season, but has turned it on as of late. If he gets more snaps and the game is more lopsided, where he will get more run in the second half, or hopefully maybe a touchdown boosts his morale and keeps him going on the right track. Like I think the biggest possible positive to come out of this is that guys that are rotation pieces or super subs, whatever you're gonna call it, like they get a little bit more run and start to feel themselves and are bigger contributors to not just the team for that game, but as we inch closer and closer to playoff games, they can make a name for themselves that way. Like Kingsley Anibari is too good to be in that position, but he's still like only seeing 20 to 25 snaps usually. I think the highest that he's had this year is 40 against Miami. But like if he has another game where he's just terrorizing Spencer Rattler, it's like that'll go a long way in him playing or being the opposite edge rusher to Rashawn Gary. And yeah, I would want to see that when it comes to playoff games. Like put out your best players if they're reward them if their performance keeps rising and rising and are deserving of more snaps. Like that's where Edrin Cooper's in right now. He's at this point they need him on special teams, but ideally you don't want him to because he's so important to that defense and the linebacker position as a whole. So yeah, I think my expectations are obviously wanting to see a comfortable victory, but I think it would be very good to see, guys of lesser status or still fighting for snaps to maybe make a star, not star, but like breakout performance that kind of gets them in the mix for more snaps.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. Where I kind of come into this is that like obviously the big guys matter, right? Jaden Reed matters. Christian Watson matters. Romeo
Yep.
Dobbs matters. So does Tucker Kraft. But in the playoffs, like you said, there's always moments for these fourth and fifth receivers or these second tight ends like Luke Musgrave, who's trying to come back for opportunities, and we've been victims of those guys. Freaking 2 years ago, or I'm sorry, last year, Jawan Jennings gets 65 yards and I believe a touchdown in their game against no touchdown, just six catches, 5 targets for 61 yards. But it was important 61 yards. They were backbreakers on uh, I believe third down and whatnot. But like I don't, if I'm not mistaken, he wasn't wide receiver 2 last year. I think he was wide receiver 3. It would have been Debo. Kittle is also in there, but and then the other one that I think about is Scotty Miller from the
Yeah.
Buccaneers. He was not wide receiver 2. He was wide receiver 3 or 4, I believe. And so even then, he wasn't like in the regular season. Scotty Miller had uh, 33 receptions for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then he has that huge uh, game against the Packers at just that one big catch at the end of the first half that ends up being the difference. And so like there's ample opportunity for these guys that are down the depth chart a little bit to have impact plays. Like you don't need to catch 10 balls or don't need to be targeted 10 times to have an impact as Dontavian Wicks, as Malik Heath, or other guys like that. You just need to be the guy that catches the ball when it's needed the most in a certain set in a crucial part of the game. And I think Dontavian Wicks has shown that he's capable of doing that of pretty well the last 2 weeks. We haven't seen the drops, knock on some wood, uh, in his most recent games. And so if he's building that momentum, again, like you said, a great time to do that is this game. Should the offense pick it up and put this game out of reach early? Like maybe you
Yep.
take out Christian Watson right like early on, or you take out Jaden Reed so much, so then you get Dontavian Wicks mixed in there a little bit just to make sure he's ready and able to when called upon. Because I think that's important.
Yeah. It just shows um this is a deeper team than not just, peripherally or just look at like weapons and supporting cast. It's like, no, this would be a good, you know, continuation of the development that they have fostered, not just at the top of the roster, but all areas of it.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, uh, anything else? Or should we get into some predictions?
Let's go predict. Let's predict
Alrighty,
something.
I think it's you first. Not mistaken.
My Packers player to watch. See, a game like this opens up the door for, kind of fun ones, I would say.
All right.
I'm gonna go. I'm actually, I'm gonna go with Enigbari,
Okay.
Kingsley Enigbari.
All right.
Coming off a two-sack performance, he just kind of always captures my attention. Um, I think he has helped spur on this pass rush kind of explosion,
Yeah.
not just by getting after the quarterback, but I just think he's just exciting. It's Rashawn Gary's turned it on, and it's probably overlooked at this point that he has turned on as much as he has. But I do like how Eric Barry has just come along, and again, I think he's someone that is probably deserving of more than just 22 snaps, and again in a bigger game. But um, yeah, I think he can easily follow up another two-sack performance with, an, or follow up his two-sack performance with another two-sack performance
Yeah.
Monday night.
Yeah. I don't. That's a fun player to watch. I'm gonna go Jordan Love. I want to see him dice up this defense for all it's worth. Uh, Monday night, like at home, good crowd, fighting for the playoff spot, like looking to lock it up. Let's get this playoff spot locked up, and I want to see it on his shoulders. It doesn't mean I want to see him throw 50 times, but I want to see him like an efficient 300 yards. I think he's fully capable of doing that. Um, doing that this week. And my saint is Brian Breesy. Brian Breesy is their second year guy, D lineman. Leads the team in sacks this year, along with their edge rusher Carl Granderson. Uh, Guy that we looked at a little bit last year as a bit of a like a second round option, I believe. If we were going to take him there, he was taken with the 30th pick last year. But weirdly enough, PFF hates him. Like he's got like almost all his grades under 50 this
Mm,
year, which I think is because he misses a lot of tackles and his
mm.
opportunities for tackles up the middle. But I mean, if he's playing inside and he has 8 sacks, that's pretty dominant. And so,
Yeah.
would like to make sure that Sean Ryan and company, Elton Jenkins and Josh Myers really take care of him. But uh, he's got 8 sacks on the year, and that's pretty darn good for a team on defense that isn't as good as you want them to be, obviously. So yeah, Brian Breesy is my saint.
Your saint. My saint is
Xavier
hmm,
Francis.
hmm? Uh my saint to watch is Matthew Hayball.
Okay, honest. I'm gonna be
You know
honest.
who
I'm gonna be
Matthew
honest.
Hayball
I'm gonna
is?
be honest with you. First time I've heard this guy's name.
Well, get used to it. He's the Saints punter. And I want to see the Saints punter a lot on Monday night.
That's so funny. What a troll pick.
I felt really good about that one. That was really good.
That's so funny. Alrighty, score predictions. I'm gonna go Packers 45.
Ho!
45-7 or 45-10.
45-10.
They just need to throw the smack down on this team.
Yeah. I forgot to also say that they lost Rashid Shaheed, who was like their star
They're
slot wide
yeah, that was
receiver,
early. That's why they went and
who
got
I had on my
MVS.
both of my yeah, I had on both of my fantasy teams and they got hurt. So that's why you don't double up.
Uh uh
So what was your score prediction?
45-10.
45-10. I'm not as bullish, but I want to ask kicking, so I'm gonna go. Oh, I'm gonna go 38-7,
All right.
and I think Spencer Rattler will be sacked so hard
How hard will
that
he be sacked, Jordan?
it's great that you asked that. He'll be imprinted into the G
My
logo,
God.
just
Man, I hope they
like
win this
that.
game because we are overconfident right now.
Yeah, we got a little
A little squirrely.
squirrely. But it's like I don't know.
The Packers are playing really well is the issue. Like they've
Yeah,
looked really good. The offense has looked
it feels good to be a little like
confident.
put out our chests,
Yeah. Sort of puff our feathers.
puff our feathers like
Peacock.
uh peacock or what's his name?
A peacocker?
Foghorn Foghorn Leghorn.
Sure.
I see ya. I sit on you. That is, I think, from The Office because he does an impression of him.
Yeah. And with that, folks, with Jordan's immaculate foghorn leghorn impression, we are going to wrap this episode up as he continues to mock me, putting his pencil on his upper lip. Uh, Thank you for listening. Go check out all things GSPN at the gspn.substack.com. So you can find all the links to our pods and the discords, as well as subscribe to the premium Substack, which is $8 a month for all the GSPN After Darks and all of our articles. Go check out the cheese board. That gets sent out every Friday morning, or rather the morning after the preview. The day the preview pod that comes out is when it gets sent out. So we always have a lot of fun with that one. And then go check out the Bucks feed. Bucks are NBA Cup champions. Jordan, Rohan, and Ty potted on Tuesday. After that, about that, go check that out in the Bucks feed. And then Win in Six uh, records next week, right?
It records next week, yes.
Yep.
Um,
You have a special uh, interviewee coming out soon, I
yes,
believe.
that'll be out. If not already, by the time this comes out, it will be out the same day.
Do you
I
want
talked
to
to,
do you want to tell the folks who you interviewed?
yes, I have the book right here. I talked to co-author of Pipeline to the Pros: How D3 Small College Nobodies Rose to Rule the NBA. I talked to Ben Kaplan. Let me see. There we go.
Yep.
Ben Kaplan. There we
Nice.
go. Yeah, great conversation. 45 minutes. And talked about the book, talked about the genesis of it, a lot of Bucks tie-ins. So we talked about specifically Mike Budenholzer, we talked about John Hammond, we talked about Don Nelson, and a book that I just came across and found out this big trend of players or people that played Division 3 basketball and have risen to prominent positions in the NBA, and it's not just a trend, but it's like half the league. So, very fascinating subject matter and a really good conversation with the author Ben Kaplan. So I hope you all listen to that one.
Awesome. That's on. I'll listen to it at work tomorrow because it's the Friday before a holiday, so
Oh yeah, baby.
gonna be slow. Um.
Gotta be slow, especially with some snow on the ground.
hmm So, uh, then go check out the Brewers feed, folks, with Adam and Andrew, and then their Junk Drawer pod for make time for this and all things pop culture and movies. So, uh, in between, I'm excited to go see Nosferatu. I'm gonna try and do that
Mm,
over break. I think that'll be a fun movie to go see.
Nosferatu. I want to see The Brutalist.
Which one is that? It sounds familiar.
Adrian Brody. It's like this 3 hour and 30 minute epic.
Yeah, that does sound fucking brutal. Also,
How dare
my
you?
apologies for making it explicit at the end.
Yeah, we were so
We were
close.
so close. What is it like? Is it? I think I've seen commercials for it, but yeah, I have no idea what this is about. So, alrighty.
But yeah, I say yes for Ratu to seeing that movie.
Every time I hear the ad, like I see the ad for Nosferatu, all I can think of is the SpongeBob episode. They go Nosferatu, and he's flickering the lights on and off. Where they have the hash slinging slasher, and he's holding the spatula
Yep.
on his thing. Yep,
Yeah.
that's all I think about. So that's
I mean, it's
that.
not a bad thing.
No, it's a great episode.
No.
So, all right, folks, that's all for us.
Mhm.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back sometime next week. TBD of when the pod for the Saints game will be out, but we will have one at some point. So have a good
Bear
weekend.
with us with holidays. You know
Yeah,
how it is.
yeah, gets a little wonky when we travel and whatnot. So uh, bear with us, like Jordan said. Have a good holiday weekend prior, and if you don't hear from me, you'll hear from somebody in GSPN whenever. Have a good one. So thank you again. Thank you, Jordan. Okay, hold on. I gotta redo that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.
It just felt weird not doing it the right way the first time. So